So I saw this video maybe a week ago or so and didn't think a lot of it. Then I read this news article by Jason Rantz from 770 KTTH here in Seattle. Shocking video shows light rail train used as homeless shelter. First time through, I thought, well, there's just a bunch of people riding the train. And then, based on the article, I rewatched the video. I'm like, geez, they're all homeless. Oh, man. So apparently there's like 2 paying customers on this video. And there's like 30 or 30 plus homeless people that have just taken over the Angle Lake train station. And apparently this is a normal thing. Now, you might say, well, doesn't anybody check? And aren't they, making people pay for this? The answer is no, we're not, because making people pay for the train is considered racist in Washington and Seattle. So we're not doing that. So as a result, we've got just a bunch of people crashed out on the train and they just ride the train around. It's what we're doing here in Seattle. Interesting, right? I spent Mother's Day in Oklahoma City. I made my dad drive us around with my mom, of course, on Mother's Day, drive us around downtown Oklahoma City because I wanted to compare, a red big city with a blue big city, which is what we're talking about right here. In the entire time we drove around, which is probably a couple of hours, I had my eyes peeled for where the homelessness was. I came up with 2 tent sightings and they were so random. Now I know there are other areas in Oklahoma City that there are homeless encampments, but they're really on the peripheral. They're really on the outside. And so for downtown, in downtown Oklahoma City, there is no graffiti and there is no active homelessness encampments the way they are here in Portland or Seattle or LA, or just don't have it. Don't have it. It's crazy. It's also awesome. I mean, it's amazing to be able to walk around a downtown core and go, hey, yeah, there aren't people pissing on the sidewalk. There aren't crazy people just wandering all around. It was a real refreshing change. So there's that. For the red states, for the red cities. All right, we're going to get into this video. Before we do, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies. I read news for reasonable people. All right, let's do this. Let's check out the video. Let's just take a quick look-see at what's going on. All right, so what we just watched there was a 1:21 clip of a city worker. You can see his reflection in the mirrors at times. He's walking the outside just along this train and just showing who's on the train. I counted 2 people, and that's what the article says, 2 people that were possibly on there legit. The other people are all just crashed out with their bags, or, they just look homeless. Crashed out with their bags. They're knotted off. They're just, clearly a bunch of them have been doing drugs. They're just hanging out. So this is I mean, this is a pretty good reason why people don't use public transport. You got the buses in downtown Seattle now where you've got secondhand fentanyl smoke is a major concern. Bus drivers are like, yeah, it's making me feel sick. Yes, it should. You're inhaling secondhand fentanyl smoke. That's what's going on in the metro buses in downtown Seattle. And then you've got a light rail train further out, Angle Lake, which is to the north, a number of miles from the downtown core. And this is what you've got going on. People that get on there and abuse the fact that tolls are no longer collected because that is somehow racist because whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so you're basically just destroying public transport. And there's really no reason for it. You got to enforce some of this stuff. Otherwise, you end up with public transport like this. All right. A Sound Transit employee took shocking video that shows approximately 30 homeless people using light rail as a homeless shelter. The video was recorded last Monday, May 2nd at the Angle Lake station. The unidentified employee walks the entire length of the light rail cars as a homeless man and women are mostly slumped over and passed out. There appears to be only 2 paying customers on the light rail. That is horrible. Horrible. It's probably, is it early morning? It was hard to say. It was either really early morning or it was at night because you get at times kind of see out the window and see that it was getting dark, although it's Seattle and it's still, we call it late winter. The rest of you in the country might be, celebrating early summer, even maybe spring. Yeah, we're not really doing that here yet. We've still got gray skies, so it's always just kind of gray. Another thing I enjoyed about Oklahoma City, the sun was out. It's like 95 degrees when I left. Toasty. And that's May. So wildly different than Seattle. And it was enjoyable from the red standpoint and the weather standpoint. Sound Transit employees are said to be fed up with the lack of action from Sound Transit management as operators have complained about this issue since the start of the pandemic. It seems like everything started at the beginning of the pandemic, but most consistently, so many of the homelessness issues, don't kick them out of their encampments. You might spread the Rona. Don't kick them off the bus. Don't kick them off the train. Might spread the Rona. Seems like we've got a lot of that, don't we? Yeah. I think it's time to move along with that whole theory, with that whole thing. Flying without a mask was amazing. 2 thumbs up. Loved that. A Sound Transit spokesperson says the severity of the problem displayed in this video is particularly concerning, but called this situation new information for us. This is new information. We have not seen this before. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Management knows what's going on. And homeless people riding the train? No, they tell me. Did they pay? Yeah, this is just kind of the silliness that we have going on here, right? Sound Transit is not engaged in traditional fare enforcement since board members declared the practice racist. I'm getting so tired of everything being racist. And it's like, okay, there are people that are violating the law. And if they get arrested and if they happen to be BIPOC, that means that it's racist because we've got a higher proportion of arrests. How does that work? And here in the state of Washington, we're in the process of basically decriminalizing, call it all drugs. We're probably going to go down that path. I'm sure that'll work out just fine. Don't you think? Don't you think no. You got to throw people in jail at times. Maybe let them hit rock bottom. We're just not on that pathway here right now. We're just like, just all this crazy stuff. I'm sure it'll be fine. Just let the trains get overrun with homelessness. And I'm sure new information to us. Didn't know that was happening after 2 years of it happening on a daily basis. During the pandemic, homeless people took advantage of the lax policies. Now the homeless have effectively taken over some light transit, light rail trains. It's common to see the homeless sleep across several seats or slumped over in one chair. Now, you used to see maybe a one-off of that. You get on a bus or, you know what I mean? You'd go somewhere, public transport, and you'd be like, okay, that person's not in their right mind. That person's, really drunk. You'd see that every now and then. I remember going to downtown Seattle as a kid, and it was what we used to call bums, or even before that, hobos, which I'm sure is racist somehow. I mean, either one of those terms, bums or hobos, I'm sure that's a no-go. So we go with homeless. Used to see those folks, and it used to be, they'd have a brown bag, right? It was always booze, typically booze. But now it's so drugs. I mean, it just is. And everybody knows it. And then we're going down the routes of, well, why don't we just decriminalize everything? Should be fine. I'm sure this will be fine. What could possibly go wrong? It's wild. I mean, just the directions that we're heading here, not the right direction. And in order to get to the other side, we're going to have to go through some real nonsense. And that's going to be entertaining to see if we ever get through that nonsense. I may not be here. Why would I want to stick around with a lot of this nonsense? Even just flying into the SeaTac airport yesterday versus flying into Oklahoma City airport, it is wildly noticeable. People are different. People are different. I guess I just get so used to Seattle. All right. Yeah. Bunch of, poorly dressed people that are hipsters. They've got, got the hats on and all that. And then you get into more of a conservative area like Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. People are nicer. They seem to smile more. They're not concerned with, these tiny little details as much. Actually had a guy open a door for me, a younger kid open a door for me. And, just normal stuff that we used to have all the time. But here in Seattle, there's just zero respect for anything, especially the city. You just tag everything up and let the homeless just run free. And yeah, here we are. That's kind of where we're at, right? The problem is most pronounced in the early mornings and late evenings. We're back to the train story. One Sound Transit staffer tells me that this occurs regularly. And why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? I mean, why wouldn't the homeless take advantage of this, knowing they're not going to get booted off for not paying, and that nobody's probably really going to do anything about it? It seems like we don't really do anything about any of this stuff till somebody gets killed, or there's some struggle with local business, or it's just become such an issue that it's such a hot spot that the mayor finally cracks down and says, this has been an area of emphasis for quite some time, but now we're really, really emphasizing it. And you're like, okay, you do your thing. We'll see how well this pans out. Because we've got a bunch of areas of Seattle right now that have got kind of the hot focus on them because they've been, major crime areas. And so, crimes in those areas have obviously been reduced because you've got a constant police presence there. But what's that do for other areas of the city? What's that do for people trying to commute on light rail? Yeah, they're not going to. How is your light rail commute? It's a little tricky right now. Yeah, there were plenty of seats available. But knowing that that's going on, how encouraged would you be to ride the light rail? Probably not. All right. So I ride the light rail. It costs me $1, whatever, $2. I don't even know how much it costs to ride the light rail. That is how often I take it. Never, ever. I will take the bus every now and then. And I think it's like $1.50 to go maybe a few miles. I don't even know. You know what I mean? It's like I ride it so rarely. I usually go into a game or something where somebody says, let's take the bus. Like, okay, if we have to, because sometimes, parking is just ridiculous and it's hard to park. But, riding the light rail to work, it's supposed to save a bunch of time, and it's very green. Because, you've got this electric train and you're just buzzing along and you're going to get there, and you can do your laptop, you can do your phone. But if one of these folks, these 30 homeless folks on the light rail, sees things differently that day, that could ruin your commute into work. So I don't really blame people for not using the trains. Seattle's not really much of a commuter train kind of city anyway. We need our cars because our roadway system here it's mixed up. We've got, we're landlocked, and we've got all these areas where you can't really develop. And so you can't just put a major thorough through everywhere. Whereas my experience down in Oklahoma City, if they go off track a little bit, they're just going to run into some dirt and fields, and, you're not taking out a glacier filled, alpine lake. You know what I mean? You're not doing that in Seattle either, but that's kind of the thing is, yeah, you can't just put a roadway anywhere, whereas in Oklahoma City you can. So we've got all these restrictions on where buses can go and, all this crazy stuff that kind of makes public transport not all that popular. Now you've got a real reason to not take the light train. Oh yeah, I don't think so. I think we're going to wait for security to kind of clean that up and do their thing. And maybe we'll get back to you on riding the light train, whatever it is. But yeah, this is going on. And if you watch that video, you'd be like, I don't think I want to, I don't think we're going to ride the light rail to work. And so few people are, wanting to go into downtown anyway. And that's eventually where all these light rails and buses lead to, right? Let's go to downtown. Let's take the train to downtown. No, I don't think so. A bunch of crime down there. And you got a bunch of homeless people just running around. Hard no go. So now you've even got like public transport that, we're all encouraged to use being overrun by something that could be, if it could be taken care of. You could actually have security that makes sure that it's there for paying passengers. I know that's shocking and I know that is somehow racist, but you got to have security at some point in time. Apparently that is not happening right now in Seattle. So this is not a shocking story. It makes total sense to me, but it's kind of sad. It's sad in the overall picture of things. It's like, yeah, you can't even ride the light rail, even if you want to be a, really green Seattleite. And I'm sure you could if you wanted to, but why would you? I don't know. All right. That's it for me on this one. For all of you mothers out there watching, happy belated Mother's Day. Hope you had a great one. That's it for me. We'll catch up with you on the next one. How's that? Bye for now.